Hi, hey everybody, this is Patrick Gill, Polygon.com. We are live at GDC in San Francisco, and this is a chameleon with a bat on its head. And it's one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. We're joined by Andy of Platonic, who is showing us today Yooka-Laylee.
Indeed.
What's the elevator pitch on Yooka-Laylee?
So it's a kind of a new open world 3D platformer from a lot of the key creators behind some of the genres classics. So we've got lead kind of developers who worked on Banjo-Kazooie and Donkey Kong Country and all kinds of games of that ilk. So we reformed as Platonic Games. Had a very, very successful Kickstarter, which was absolutely amazing. And this is what the game looks like 6 weeks before release, starring a colourful buddy duo who are going on a quest to collect lots of shiny gubbins.
Let's go get some gubbins. So tell me a bit about the before the Kickstarter. How did the idea come to say let's revisit Banjo-ish games or bring back the rare platformer, the rare 3D platformer?
Well, I think a lot of the team members wanted to make this game for a long time. We just needed, everything to kind of come together for the opportunity for it to happen. And, one of those things being the team members becoming available at the same time, which happened for various reasons. And also, obviously, Kickstarter as a platform kind of only really emerged 1 or 2 years before we did our Kickstarter, and obviously that as a form of funding is something that, we couldn't have made this game without it, really. Sure. Certainly not as an independent, new company. So, the fans really enabled us to make this game, and at the same time, grow our studio and keep our independence. We were, at the time of the Kickstarter, we were 7 people, and we're now 22, I believe.
You
so
scaled up.
We're now a small team,
Yeah. Tell me a bit about the design philosophy here, because obviously this is a game that has been kickstarted. It's for an audience that really wants, a return to this form of platforming. What's in this style of game? But what sort of stuff? Have there been points along the way where you've sort of had to say, well, the way that things used to work in this particular genre won't work now?
There are some things, but I think mostly there's not been a game like this for a long, long time.
Right.
And that kind of gives us a lot of strength.
Yeah.
We believe. You'll see in the gameplay that I've been playing so far. I'm totally free to explore.
Yeah.
There's no big mini-map on the screen. There's no, imposing waypoints. That style of game really did give players the freedom to explore at their own pace and discover elements in the game without too much hand-holding. So we've really doubled down on that and embraced it. Because platformers today are very linear affairs.
Sure.
A to B stuff. We've kind of brought in features like being able to purchase any moves in any order, and there's this tonic system in the game where you can kind of modify the gameplay to suit your style. Like if you want a certain move to last longer, or you want the game to be harder or easier. These sorts of things that empower players to choose their own route through the game. And the biggest thing is probably the expandable worlds. So these are the kind of the grand tomes, which are hidden throughout the hub world, and they kind of hold the worlds in the game. And you unlock them with these pages, these magical pages that you collect. But you not only unlock the worlds, you also can choose to expand them and make them bigger.
Oh, wow.
And obviously that kind of goes into the core of having an open world style of platformer even more, that our players are deciding, whether they want to have a more laid back experience and play through the game in a linear fashion, see some, cool looking worlds, or if they really want to, collect everything, have some extra challenge, they can choose to expand the world and make it bigger. So this is the first world in the game, the TRIBALSTACK TROPICS, and this is it in its expanded form. So when you first go in here, it'll be a bit more manageable, a bit more accessible to players who want to have a bit more of a laid-back time. But if you decide to spend your pages expanding it, you kind of have this huge monument appear up there that you can scale all the way to the top, which has an interior as well. And there's kind of all kinds of other new content that you can go and explore. I'll see if I can get up there for you.
So tell me a bit about the movement systems in this game, because that was one of the most fun things about Donkey Kong Country 64 and Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie is all the different ways you had to get around the environment. What do you have at your disposal in this one?
So the movement was made by a guy called Chris Sutherland, who did the same for DKC and Banjo, and he starts off but with a cube in a 3D environment, and he's literally messing around with this cube until it's fun, and that's when the animators come in and they work together, kind of making the movement fun. So you see stuff like they tilt when they move, and little subtle things that add a tangible kind of feeling of momentum. So the reason we went with a chameleon and a bat is that we really wanted, two animals that had kind of innate abilities that were kind of fun for platforming. So Yooka has kind of a whole suite of like tongue moves. He can kind of gobble stuff up and absorb their properties or spit them out as projectiles. Whereas Laylee has kind of got a kind of suite of sonar moves. I don't think I've got it unlocked in this build, but she shoots these kind of rings of sonar, and she can stun enemies and break glass and stuff like that.
All right, and you can obviously hover across gaps using her. You got the good old-fashioned butt stomp.
Indeed.
Yes. So,
and as you can see, we put a lot of focus on the look and feel of the game.
Yeah.
We wanted a game that tone's probably the right word, that felt like it came from that era, not like dated, but something that felt like it was cut from the same cloth. So you can see we've got this big, loud font. That feels like a kind of N64 font.
Yes.
We've brought back the gobbledygook style of talking, which is a lot harder than you'd think to get working.
Is that synthesized? Is that a voice actor making?
Oh, it's a voice actor. Yeah.
Okay,
In fact, this character here is one of our Kickstarter backers.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
It's a lot harder than you'd think.
Yeah.
That's the reason we didn't have it up and running for our Kickstarter, really, is because it just didn't sound right. And Grant Kirkhope, one of our composers, and Chris, our lead programmer, worked kind of quite hard to recreate that.
Tell me a bit about working with Grant Kirkhope again and the music that he has made for this game, because you might be able to hear it on the stream, but it sounds exactly like you remember this stuff sounding. What was that process like?
Well, this particular track on this world is kind of unmistakable banjo, unmistakable Grant Kirkhope, because it's the first world in the game. We wanted to kind of set that tone, and we had it on the Kickstarter as well. But as you go further through the game, you'll see that Grant's actually done quite a lot that's different for this game tonally for what he's done before. The Glacier world, which is the second world in the game, has like a beautiful kind of grand score that I know he's very proud of, and I think is one of the best tunes in the game. But we've also got David Wise, who worked on the Donkey Kong Country games, doing music for the game, and we've also got Steve Burke, who did the soundtrack.
So you got the full trifecta.
Yeah. He did did Cameo. He does all of the music for our really cool arcade games.
Yeah.
It's a really special score.
Are you all working together? And so I guess this might be a better question for one of them, but maybe you can speak to it too.
You mean what's it like, kind of working with 3 at a time? Composer?
Yeah.
Well, I think for this game, it made sense that for this particular game, that Grant kind of had a lot of the core work. It kind of being a Banjo-Kazooie style game, that he was at the core, and then David does a lot of stuff around the edges. He does the minecart sections, which fit perfectly with him because they're Donkey Kong Country style minecart sections, and he does a couple of boss tracks as well. And Steve Burke, who does this amazing kind of chiptune music. I think he did the Klungo game in Nuts and Bolts, the arcade style game, and he does all of the arcade games in this game, which they're kind of like mini games that you can play with up to 4 players, and those are really, really cool tunes as well. But I don't think it's been hard working with those guys. I think and I think it works as well. I think I know that I would always wanted to see a game with those guys working together, and this is it. So there's a whole lot of really good music to discover.
These games have always sort of been about, obviously one of the things they're just about is that it's fun to run around and move and explore and jump off of things. I remember playing banjo-kazooie and banjo-tooie and just pretty much ignoring the objectives and just like seeing how high I could get and jumping off of things. Does this game sort of reward that same sort of exploration and experimentation, you think?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, in a in a nutshell.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we're going for. You know, as I said earlier, with kind of the lack of kind of hand-holding on the HUD and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We want players to be able to go through the game at their own pace.
Yeah.
And discover things and feel like they, you know, a sense of satisfaction that they did it themselves. So this is the second world in the game, the Glacier, which we're showing for the first time at GDC.
Awesome. So, is there anything that like this game is doing that you know that the team wishes they could have done?
Well, the expandable worlds definitely, because it's not just you know, I mean, as I hinted at earlier, it's not just a way of like adding more content. It also it makes the game instantly appealing to different audiences. Like people who are looking for different kinds of things from this game. Because they can decide, you know, to see more of it. I mean, if this world here, if you were like, oh, I've really enjoyed the, you know, kind of the sort of challenges that are in this world, you can decide to, instead of going on to the next one, you can make it bigger and get more of those challenges.
Yeah.
Plus, there are, you know, a few clever ways in which we kind of make the, you know, the worlds bigger. So there's also kind of the thrill of revisiting the worlds and seeing things in a different light, like that kind of Metroidvania style of gameplay.
And can you tell me a bit about the animation? Because we just saw some really lovely idle animations. And is that something you can do voluntarily?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, like there's all kinds of it's a mood board on the D-pad.
Oh, okay, wonderful. So I guess tell me a bit about the importance of animation in this game, and also the process. How big is the team working on this stuff? Because it's all very springy.
Well, it's actually for Yooka-Laylee, it'll be mainly one man. It'll be Steve Mouse, who came up with the character artist who did Banjo and Kazooie. Okay. And that's one of the great things about Playtonic, and that's one of the reasons that the team wanted to kind of come together and do the indie thing, is that people like Steve can come up with a character. He would have come up with a concept for these two. He would have made the model and he would animate it himself. At a bigger studio, that would be 3 or 4 people doing that, you know, rigging it and animating it and modeling it. So it's really kind of going back to a hands-on approach. And I think that shows through, like in the personality.
Yeah.
Even stuff like this, look how Laylee kind of holds onto his head, and like it's like there's an auteur kind of ship almost that you can tell that he did it.
That's cool. And the design process for Yooka and Laylee. You mentioned picking Chameleon and Bat because you wanted those innate things. Was there anything else that was in the running for a while that didn't pick it in?
We originally had a tiger,
Yeah.
and we started off with a tiger, but we decided that it wasn't really, you know, the sort of underdog, you know, type of animal that we wanted for this sort of game.
Yeah.
Because Yuka's really, you know, like an easygoing type that we wanted players to be able to kind of imprint their own personality on, like being the main guy with the legs running about, even though, you know, we're very strict on the fact that they are a 50-50 partnership.
Right.
Like, you know, they're stronger together, like one's not kind of running the other. Whereas Laylee's more like the devil on his shoulder, and she'll kind of like, you know, urge him to do the naughty thing. This is Trousers kind of move shot, so you can purchase moves in, you know, practically any order that you want. So if I go on and purchase a Sonar shot here, which we didn't have earlier.
So Banjo-Kazooie, and I guess all the previous games that this is sort of expanding on, had really good villains. I think a lot of people remember Gruntilda. People remember Gruntilda's theme music because it's burned into my brain. But who are Yooka and Laylee up against in this game? And
so the bad guy is this big corporate creep called Capital B, and he's basically just a big bee in a suit, and he's trying to absorb all of the world's books, or so they think. And he's kind of this typical kind of, you know, corporate bad guy. He kind of talks in. We loved the idea that there'd be this bee in a suit who talked in buzzwords. Once we had that pun, we were sold. he's a lot of fun to write as well, and the taunts are back. He has a lot of taunts as you go through the lair, as you explore his corporate lair. He'll kind of taunt Yooka-Laylee in kind of businessy language, you know, like just you wait until Q4 of the game, you know, when I'm going to pummel you and stuff like that.
Sure.
It's the result of years of watching financial calls.
So the game is obviously it's a game that a lot of people remember from, or it's a game that feels like a lot of games that we played when we were younger. Can you tell me a bit about designing this game, obviously to appeal to the people who are older now, who grew up and played them then, and also new audiences?
Well, I think with the new audiences, I mentioned a lot about it being a very open game and you can explore. I think that actually a lot of new players might find that very refreshing, that it's the sort of game that you can kind of just, you know, lose yourself in and explore at your own pace. But one thing we definitely wanted to change was to be very careful with our collectibles. You know, towards the end of the kind of the 90s, that kind of crept in, that resource management where there were too many collectibles. So every collectible in the game's got a meaningful role. Say, for example, the quills, they're not just kind of things that guide you through the environment. You obviously use them to spend on the moves that I showed you earlier from Trouser. This little guy here, this butterfly, I could run into him and collect him, or you can gobble him up as Yooka. And you're making a choice even there. I mean, by eating that butterfly, it's refilled my health. But if I collected it, it would have refilled this this kind of power bar on the left here. And the idea behind that power bar is that you know, you've still got you're making a tactical decision when you use a special move, such as this kind of fast roll move. However, you don't have to worry about collecting 8 different collectibles in order to power it, which we could have easily have done. You know, like, oh, you need this to power the roll, you need this to fly. It's just the butterflies, and you know, you might be in a situation where you're low on health and you're low on stamina, and you have to make the you know, the on-the-spot choice. And that extends to how we handle projectiles as well. There are these berry bushes here, like this, in the environment, and you can kind of gobble them up and absorb their properties. So that saves us having to manage, you know, 8 different ammo types, and so we're very up on you know, avoiding that, you know, the negative side of the, you know, collectathon tag that kind of crept in towards the end.
Tell me about difficulty. What balance you're trying to strike as far as.
Well, again, that hooks into the expandable world's a very good kind of safety net for us for doing that. I mean, obviously a lot of the complexity and the more challenge, it enables us to go further. It doesn't mean we've done the game down. It means that we can go even further with kind of the challenging content, because players are making like an active choice to expand the world and you know, go and take on harder challenges. So there's definitely some tough stuff in here. I mean, I did a 100% playthrough recently, and there were a few sections where, you know, I was stuck for a long time, like in a good way.
So what's your favorite, like, these games have things that just feel tactile and good. Like, what's the thing that, you know, what's your, like, popping the packing bubbles in this, the thing that just, like, feels right for you?
I think the controls just feel great. I mean, I've picked the worst place to show them off on this big slippery ice, but I've picked the worst place. But they do feel great. The momentum, the animation, the personality of the characters. I mean, that's probably my favourite thing about the game is you know, in everything we do, you know, there's personality coming out everywhere. You know, I love the dialogue because I did it. But that's enabled by our amazing artists and our amazing audio guys, right? I mean, I could write basically anything, and when it's got that guy's funny head on the side and he's making a funny voice, and it just makes it an absolute joy to write for this game.
So
this guy's Kartos, he's a dusty old minecart who's got a bit of a chip on his shoulder that no one's really interested in taking him for a ride anymore. But Yooka and Laylee are going to help him out.
Is that a bit of a meta commentary on the fall of the minecart?
Yeah,
segment from video games?
indeed. Yeah, it is. Well observed. There's a dinosaur in the game who runs our arcades as well, called Rextro, and he's literally a character left over from the 90s.
Really?
Like he says to you, like, I've been sat here waiting for my friends to, since 1997.
That's
and
great.
he's quite fun. So with these mechanics here, you can kind of you can speed up and slow down.
Yeah.
As well as the kind of hop and bop style platforming. But it's not just kind of reaching the end, you have to reach the end with a certain amount of gems. So, we're rewarding skill, basically. Like, you need to do it properly.
The yellow gems are worth more.
Yeah, they're worth more, yeah. I think I might actually do this. I was playing it earlier and I couldn't do it.
Nice.
Yeah, oh, no.
Oh.
Nice.
Awesome. Cool. So, unless there's anything else you'd like to add, let's talk about when this is coming out and when people can.
It's out on April the 11th on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, PC, Linux, and Mac. And we're also coming out on Nintendo Switch, but there's no release date for that just yet.
Awesome. And where can people find out more about the game?
PlayTonicGames.com
Okay.
or on YouTube, our Twitter feed, our Facebook. And everything else.
Cool.
Or Polygon.com. There's loads on
Polygon.com. Yeah, that's a good website
I hear that
to go
site's
to.
okay.
It's all right. Hey, thank you for tuning in.
Thank you for having me in.
Yeah, and it's been great having you here. And we will look forward to seeing more from Yooka-Laylee in the very near future. You out there watching on the internet, stick around because we've got a whole bunch more of these scheduled today. Tell all of your nerdy friends who like indie games to come watch these beautiful indie game streams. We love you. Goodbye.